Okay, hi there. We're LinkedIn Live. If it's 11 a.m. Eastern Time, it's the hour of empower. The word of the day is promotion. I am so honored to have Catherine Chadwick back. Seems like Catherine's here about every other day.
Well, thanks for having me, Don.
Yeah, and it's a pleasure to have you, and I think that's so important is the spirit and the joy people bring just beyond just their words, right?
Yeah.
And Malia Fibelson is here, first timer. Got to meet Malia just about a week or so ago, had a tremendous conversation. Being entrepreneurial myself, I really, really related to Malia and where she is, why she's where she's at, where she's going, and how she took the journey to get to where she is. So I think you're going to be really impressed. Uh, Chat's open. The main thing is what your main thing is, and we're here to guide the conversation to be more relevant, to address any needs you may have, and hopefully give you some valuable takeaways that you can use after the show and start getting some real value for the time, thought, and interest you contributed today. With that said, our first comment comes from Renadev. Every day, same person, same comment. I talked to him on the phone. He's from India, and then he comes back with this comment, and then we start the show. So with that said, Malia, since you're a new person, why don't we let you share a little bit about yourself to provide some context and what your initial thoughts on the word promotion is.
Hi, everybody. My name is Malia. I am known on LinkedIn as the Malia Cam. The way that came to be was it was 2020, COVID was here, it was the end of the summer. People kept challenging me to get on LinkedIn. And one really, really popular person on LinkedIn said to me, "You think you could create better content than me?" And I was like, you know what? Challenge accepted. Like, I'm going to do that. So I went on LinkedIn, I took out my phone, I just recorded a video. And I remember someone said to me that day in my post, like, there's no way you're going to get more than 1,000 views on this. And then when I woke up the next day, I got over 2,000 views and 50 or something comments. And then that guy messaged back to me and he's like, "Why don't you create a hashtag for yourself?" And I was like, okay, hashtag the Malia Cam, like the Malia camera. And then I just started saying "Hello LinkedIn, welcome back to the Malia Cam" every single day. And then I ended up I'm going to go back and I'm going to go forward. And then a couple years later, I actually created my business and it's the Malia Cam. So it's very cool how it ties together. But for context purposes, I was in college for interior design and I loved it as a kid. I always wanted to be an interior designer. That was my dream. And then I went to during college, one of my classes fell through and I was very organized. All my classes were set up properly. And it was a week before college and there was nothing open. And then I see radio production and I was like, what's radio production? So it was literally all meant to be. I took radio production. I got in touch with the college radio station. I literally fell in love with radio and I was there for 2.5 years. The first day I walked into the radio station, the guy's like, "I love your voice." The director said, "I'm putting you on the mic to host the news tonight." And that's where I stayed. And then I finished college and it was 2020, very hard to find a job. And I was like, I'm not just going to sit here twiddling my thumbs. Let me start, a podcast. Let me start doing things. And then I realized through this that the same way all these big companies have created something for themselves, I can do the same for myself. So I just was like, okay, I'm not going to have a boss. I'm going to be my own boss. And it took years of learning. I still learn every day. Today I was studying Vanderbilt, Rockefeller. I've studied in the past Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk, how Lay's potato chips was made, how Mr. Rosenberg created Dunkin' Donuts, how Heinz ketchup was made and Campbell soup, all the big companies. And when you learn that, you realize anything is possible. So that's where I am today. I'm still at the beginning of my journey, a few years in, but we'll see what happens over the next, few years.
Well, great. So, Catherine, let's catch everybody up to where you are and what's been going on and your initial thoughts on promotion.
Well, it's really interesting, Maya. I like your story.
Thank
And
you.
what's interesting is at my tender young age, I feel like I'm getting started again too, right? It's like that book, that kid's book, if you give a mouse a cookie and then they, wants some milk and then wants a straw. And it's a progression. One thing
Yeah.
leads to another, right? And so I've been a nurse for over 40 years. But I really love being a mental fitness trainer because I think that that's really the top of the heap, right? To learn about that. And as far as continuing to learn, it's fascinating because now I'm admitted and enrolled in a master's to PhD program in integrative medicine because I just know I'm going to be studying all the time anyway. So let's just keep going with this because the more I learn, the more people I can help, right? And so my favorite project across the board is the sunshine quotient. And that's a term that refers to lighting gradients in photography and radiology. And I've applied it to people because we're light beings. We radiate light and energy and information constantly. And so when you talk about promotion, you're broadcasting all the time.
Yeah.
Whether your voice is on the radio waves or you're walking down the street or we're right here, we're promoting every second of our life. And what's fascinating is I love creating hashtags too. So I have the sunshine quotient and I have a hashtag for ultimate mind diet because I believe that what you choose to think, the thoughts that you choose to entertain, and how you talk to yourself and everybody else really dictates how you operate, what your actions are going to be. And that's your life.
So
Well,
that's so interesting. If you don't mind me interrupting,
sure.
that's so interesting about the mindset. Everybody that talks about mindset says the same thing, like
Yeah.
control your thoughts, think about what you're thinking. But for me, and I'm just going to be very practical here, and a lot of people who are listening probably feel the same way. You can't always control the thoughts that come to your mind. So
Oh,
I've
no,
been
you
hearing
can't.
this. I've been hearing this so many times. Focus on what you're thinking, and I'm still struggling with that. Like, how do I just like if I could control what's in my thoughts, that would be great. But thoughts just are thoughts.
Well, what's interesting is you can't control the thought that comes in. You can, however, choose to entertain the thought or say, no, 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 that's not what I'm doing today. And choose the next best thought. And sometimes it takes a little bit to get up the scale, right?
Right.
But you do have a choice as to what you choose to focus on. But
Uh-huh.
no, you do not have control of what kind of comes in, right?
Can you give like a simple step, like how to do that actually? Like, yes, just saying no, 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 but then the thought, let's say, comes back into your brain. So, is there like a practical step that you can give us?
What I really like to do is when a thought comes in that I'm not willing to keep around, is I always encourage, and I do it myself. You take a big breath in through the nose. And when you do that, you're actually engaging your vagus nerve. And that brings on your parasympathetic nervous system, the calming side of your nervous system. It also starts, if you make a practice of doing breath work, it raises your level of self-awareness. And it also increases your level of mindfulness. And you have that opportunity to be more responsive
Mhm.
versus reactive. And that's a huge, huge skill to develop. I mean, and there are other types of mindfulness as well. Some people are tactile, some people are more visual, but the breath work, everybody breathes. And when you think about it, you don't breathe yourself or make your heartbeat on your own. So, okay, let's get in tune with this
Right,
universal energy that is fueling us, right? And so
right.
it's like, wow, okay, that's a good deal.
Well, that's terrific, and that's why we've got Catherine and so many other wonderful people like Catherine because they bring real life skill, applicable exercises or options. I think everybody wants to do better. Everybody wants to think better. Everybody wants to feel better. They're doing the best they can with what they have, with who they have, and where they are. And that's why I think association and disassociation is so valuable is where
Mhm.
are people going? Is that where you want to go? But before we get too deep, we got to honor the most important
Okay.
ingredient here, which is our audience. Renata, we said hello. Dennis, our poet laureate, is here. Great start for our day 2. Ashif from Toronto is here every day. Hi, all. Good to be here to learn. And Ashif is going to share so many wonderful quotes today, I'm sure, because he always does. Kristen's here. Good morning from Wilmington, North Carolina. Dennis comes back with go back and then forward work. Stay on the move to improve. So valid. Finishing college in 2020 gave you 2020 vision for your journey and earning. Congrats. Nice of you to say that, Dennis. The power of no, Ashif brings back. Dennis comes back with thanks for nursing our intelligence. Sun and radiation is delightful.
Aw.
There's no end. Thanks for focusing on us. You're a great guy. Dennis has been here for 9 months now and has a successful business and always finds the time for us. Ashif says, I am my good thoughts, observation. Dennis comes back with Vegas nerve is much more mindful than Las Vegas. Natalie, great to see you, Natalie, a wonderful artist. Natalie just is phenomenal. Get a chance to meet her and use this opportunity to network with these people. They're here at the same time for the same reason. You have something in common, and I guarantee you, anybody who shares respect will get a call if you have a specific question or a need, because it serves us. The feedback you provide creates what we're going to be thinking about and doing too. Relative to Catherine's thoughts just now, is how do you engage or attract quality thoughts where you can ride them and leverage them, as opposed to having, not so positive thoughts. And I think people have a tendency to bully themselves in ways they would never talk to anybody else. And I think it must be awareness. So Catherine, what's your thoughts on bringing more awareness to the positive and maybe acknowledging when you're showing progress in this journey?
Oh, absolutely. Celebrate the little wins along the way because they all add up. And that brings me to the, talking about momentum. And if you can cultivate the practice of thinking on a more positive note, and also realizing that thoughts and emotions and actions all have energetic value to them. And when you actually look at the emotional energetic scale, and I encourage everybody to Google under images, the emotional energetic scale, and the Omega Institute has a marvelous image for this. It's very clean, it's clear, and pardon me, as far as developing momentum, excuse me, just one second.
Sure.
When you think of you're on the ski slope, right? And you've got a great run going and the momentum of that is just fabulous. And you're really getting in tune with it and you're right in sync with it. Well, your thoughts are kind of like that too. And if you are going up that chairlift and you go, oh my God, I'm not going to be able to do this. You're going to have a horrible run, and it's really like that, that old Confucius saying, if you think you can, you can. If you think you can't, you can't. And so making the choice to choose even just a little bit better thought, a little bit higher up the scale thought, a little more productive thought, a little more positive thought, and give yourself a little win. And I also encourage people to create for themselves a curious observer. In some arenas, it's referred to as the witness. And I like the idea of a curious observer, looking at yourself from the outside in. Because curiosity has a little bit of mischief to it. And I believe it takes out some of the emotional sting and it's less judgmental, like, gosh, what was I thinking that, caused me to take this action or to feel this way or whatnot. And so the more information that you can glean from yourself makes a big difference because you can use it. You don't have to beat yourself up about it because back to Don's point, people do what they know. And so unless we're taking active steps to increase our level of awareness and our level, in our sphere, right? And to work with the energy that's working with us, then we have huge opportunities. And that's why the entrepreneurial spirit is so fabulous, because the higher you go up on the scale, the more possibilities you are open to.
Yeah, that is so true. And what you're really also pointing out is reflection is so important. Too many people are focused on projection, right? Constantly sending things out there. And there is something to consistency, that wins the day too, because you learn as you go. The more you do, the faster you learn. So Malia, with this new emphasis on improving one's thoughts, how do you see that applying to what you do on a daily basis?
It's so interesting. I mean, from what you were saying, it's so interesting. I feel like it must be a lifelong thing to practice. It doesn't just like, you don't just like, you have to constantly, right? Am I correct?
Yep.
This is a constant work. It's not like it just happens.
It's not like you get the degree and you're done.
Yeah, exactly. So like in the beginning, it must be like harder, and then you just like have a more of a flow. It gets easier, but it's not something that just like stops. You have to always like focus on what you're thinking and how to think more positive and better thoughts.
Well, what's interesting too is we're not meant to not change. And I think that that's where people often get stuck.
Mhm.
They don't understand the concept of that. And the natural flow of the universal energy is an upward spiral, and it's always pulling us. And so it's when we're in those pits of resistance that quite often manifests in physical illnesses and accidents and all of those other things. And I know from experience. So
I like what you're saying because it's giving me
yeah,
like it's not like a hope. I'm not getting the right word right now, but it's making me excited for the future, because if you see the same people that are staying the same in their thoughts day after day, day after day, day after day, they're not actually changing or improving. They're just staying the same. But like to know that like that you have this idea and this is something that you can work on every single day
Mhm.
just shows that like, I mean, for me, where I'm only talking about myself and whoever's in the audience who's listening. For me, like I'm young. So for me to know this and understand this knowledge as a young person, I feel like it's amazing because I have so much now to gain for my future.
Yeah.
Like it's just like, thank God I'm speaking to you now, because like I don't have to learn this later in life. Like I know this now, and it's every single day is like, just because you fell one day and you had that thought, don't worry. The next moment, it's not even every day, it's every moment. Every moment. So it's a constant work, but there's so much to gain at the end of it when you look back on your life and you're like, wow, I focused on the positive things. I grew, I became who I want to be. Like I created a quality life for myself.
Mhm.
And I'm just like so blessed to have spoken to you now, because like it's awesome. Awesome advice.
Well,
Well, I'm just delighted that we're talking, because I mean, this is the whole reason why I've started this kids program, and I'm putting this out there, and that the PS is it's not just for kids.
Right.
To have people talk about it, have the parents and the grandparents and the CEOs and the presidents and the camp counselors and everybody be talking with kids about this. What's your intention for today?
Right.
I am fun today. I'm
Yeah.
courageous today. I'm bold today. I'm kind today. All of these things, right? And when you make a decision and are intentional about what you do with your calendar in a day, it's much easier to support those decisions. And that's when you start to make the real progress.
Yes. And like you just speaking to me, like I already feel that energy. Like I already feel it within my body. Like my shoulders are starting to feel like, how it's like, oh, like excited. And it's just a conversation. But I also feel, you could disagree with me, but I feel like having the conversations with the kid is one thing, but not only telling them, but showing them as an adult, as your parents, as your aunt, the uncle, the grandparents, showing them how you live with that intention as well. That is really what's going to change their mindset. Like if you tell your child, oh, we're going to be fun today, and then you're just grumpy and just all day, like not even focusing on things for you, the kid's going to be like, what's happening here? Like, don't tell me what to do,
Well, it's like so many people it's fascinating. You know, you walk down the street and you've got the mom or the nanny with the, you know, kid in the stroller or the, you know, carriage or whatnot. And most of them are on their phone.
Right, right.
And this is what these kids grow up with. And then they go to school and they're on more screens. But yet, after school, don't be on that screen, right? And so, like, you know, talk about promoting, where, you know, the role model that we each are
Yeah.
is exactly what people learn from.
It's so interesting. I was just away for the weekend and we were in a community that they didn't have like the kids didn't have cell phones and didn't have iPads. And in my community, a lot of kids at like age like 8, 9, 10, they already have cell phones. They all have iPads, like, you know, and we were discussing as a family, like these kids in this place that we were at literally had a social life. They knew how to interact with children. They had personality. And we're like, it's so interesting. Like the kids that we know of, they don't have that kind of personality. They had a young, fun spirit in this place without the phones. And then like here, it's like the kids are heavy, you know, like they feel like they're weighed down by something. And it was just such an interesting what you're saying about like the phones. It's interesting how like different places, like depending on what the parents are doing, the kids see that as well. So that's so
But don't get, you know, also the technology is such
yeah,
a tool. It's fabulous.
yeah,
And with the expansion of the technology, the expansion of the research is expanding too. And all of this information that we can use is fabulous. But it's like anything else. You know, there are more aspects to life
yeah, yeah, yes.
than technology, right?
I had a kid literally tell me, I was sitting across the table from this child and I was like, asked a question and she said, I'll text you. I said, but I'm right here so you could respond to me. No, 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 I'll text you. I'm like, you're right, I see you. Like you don't have to text me. But it's part of the flow. Like that's how they communicate. And it's like,
Yeah.
you know, it's that's the way of them being social. They don't know how to be social with kids these days. It's more the way that they interact with their friends is all through the phones and the texting. So it's interesting. I mean, I do want to talk about the word promotion. The reason I didn't talk about it is because there's just like a lot of things that go through my mind when it comes to promotion. But throughout this whole conversation, really the one thing that's sticking with me, and I would love to hear from all of you guys, Dennis, Ashif, Beverly, whoever else, Natalie, and whoever else is in the comments.
Yeah.
I would love to see if you agree with this. When it comes to promotion, it's like everybody is promoting something these days, right? Everybody's promoting themselves. If they have Instagram, if they have Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, whatever it is, some platforms are more fake than others because people feel that they have to like promote a picture of how they dress or they went to this place, they went to that place, when in reality they may not be even a happy person. They just their feed looks so beautiful and they look happy, and it promotes an unhealthy lifestyle, an unrealistic lifestyle, in a way that everyone just thinks everybody else is so happy, when in reality it's just one picture that you're seeing. So when it comes to the word promotion, I would love if people would promote their real self.
Yeah.
Like I on LinkedIn, like I try to be as positive as I can, like whenever I post, but there are some days that I'm not so positive and I'll post about it. Like one day I didn't want to post and my friend told me, she's like, you post every single day. Today you're not going to post because you're not in the mood. Make a post about that and talk to your followers about that. So I did. And it opened up a real conversation.
Yeah.
In this day and age, I feel like everyone's promoting a specific type of life. And there's so many like bots talking to bots within this platform. Like there's a lot of like fake people talking to fake people. So if you're real and you're on this platform, be real, use your voice, show who you truly are from your heart. And if it's hard for you to post every day, rather post once a week and be real than post every day and be fake, because it's going to change your own reality. Your own reality is going to change and you're going to look at your feed and think, wow, you had such a great day. Then you're going to be like, but why am I not feeling happy? So if you promote yourself in a true, real way, it will definitely promote a better lifestyle. That's what I feel like with promoting. What do you think?
Well, that's great insights. I think that, you know, what I've learned, because I've had a lot of years to learn and see changes take place, today it's like musical chairs with less chairs and faster music, and people are trying to keep the spot they had, let alone get the spot they really need or want. And I think it's because of shows like this that is an island in the sun, that you can get away from the mob on LinkedIn. You can get away from the angry, loud, salesy, and pull off with 30, 40 of like-minded people who are here for knowledge share, to improve each other. And I think, to Malia's point, incremental change, visual interaction change that happens every day is so much easier, because that's why I did it 7 days a week. That's why I did it 11 a.m. every day, because you don't have to think when it is, where it is. And it's just there when you need it. And, you're there when you can help it. And I think what comes around goes around. And, it's better to do more with less who are relevant than less with more that are irrelevant. And at a certain point, why? I think intention is a key word when you talk about promotion. Everything starts with why. You want to promote this? Why? What will happen if you do? And will that lead you to a primary interest? Because if not, you're going to go off on another road while you're already on a road. And in turn, you'll probably get some level of conflict. And I think the reason why people have challenges in their thoughts is because they have conflicts. They're trying to do too much with too little time, with too little experience, with a lot of pressure, and they force things. And anytime you force things, it's not natural. And it's not duplicatable, and it's not sustainable, and it's not scalable. So if you don't have something that duplicates, scales, or sustains, you're a transactional individual right now with the hope of being successful in transactions, never realizing relationships. And pretty soon it's, what does it take to get the sale, instead of what wonderful thing can I do, and hope someone sees value and rewards it. But if you do wonderful things that you can't wait to get to, in all my career, I couldn't wait for Mondays. I was like a horse in a gate waiting for it to open for Mondays, because that's when the start of everybody was. I was always thinking I would have been, I'm doing 7 days a week, right? Why? It's a labor of love. I've never tried to monetize this at all for a whole year, because I want it to be organic, natural, safe. I think safe is so important when you're helping people change, right? That's when people will get vulnerable. That's when people will get sensitive. And what they find out? It's a strength, where they used to think of it as a weakness, because it's a door opener. It's a ceiling riser. So before we get back to Catherine, let's get into Beverly. And Beverly is our Tuesday person. Actually didn't make it Tuesday because of a speech, but she's coming back tomorrow with Kelly. Beverly's a great therapist up in Canada. Has some wonderful information, just like Catherine. Yeah, Catherine. Yes, Catherine Chavez, it's all energy. Think negative, and that's what you've created. Sheaf comes back with a winning thought becomes a winning act. So smart. And Sheaf has got so much wonderful worldly experience, but work with some of the, if I told you, you'd be very impressed. Mindset is a muscle, as Sheaf says. Good appreciation for learning change. Malia, great. Dennis comes back with thanks. It's not just for kids. I agree. You're not just kidding. Sheaf says touch without touching, and then comes back with lack of alignment is usually a fail purpose. So with that, Catherine, it's turning out to be a very, very strong interactive program. What's your thoughts?
Well, when you were talking about, not going anywhere, because you're going in too many directions, because everything is energy. And when you think about, split energy, when you think about a split energy, if you're at the fork of the road, you can't go both directions at the same time, right? And so an intentional day is one where you're focused and you're staying on the road. And that doesn't mean you might not run into a detour, right? Just because you're visualizing at the end, but most things are not a straight line, right? And so being open to the information that comes from that detour, and then also being open to what you're going to discover while you're going around on that detour. This is all huge information because everything is information.
Yes.
And I think it's a beautiful thing to keep in mind. And really, I encourage people to think more from an energetic level than an emotional level. And I'm not denying emotions at all, because it's important to fully feel the emotion and get the information from that emotion. But the research also shows that the lifespan of an emotion is 90 seconds or less. And so when we choose to just keep perpetuating some of these emotions that are not useful to us, what's the point?
It's so true. Malia, what could you add to that?
So when you talk about emotion and energy, where does logic come into play here? Like,
Well,
is being a logical, because I know that there's like an emotional person and a logical person. Now you're bringing this third aspect of energy. So is energy connected to logic?
energy is connected. Energy is everything, right? Energy is
Right.
connected to everything. When you even go down to a cellular level, those cells are really busy right now,
Mhm.
right? So, you can develop different perspectives.
Mhm.
So if you're highly logical and are discounting your emotions, that might not be so healthy, right?
Right.
Because we need the information from the emotions. And being strictly logical is going to limit. It's limiting. Anything in excess is limiting.
Right. Right.
And if you're highly emotional and not allowing for any logic at all, that isn't going to help you either. So
Right.
it's important to develop that curious observer and go, wow, okay, what's another way that I can look at this? And sometimes I actually encourage people to actually get up, go around to the other side of the table and sit in a different chair,
Oh,
right? And look at things from a different angle. And because even just that little act of a different physical view
yeah.
starts to open people up.
That's so interesting. I mean, I know also that like women are more emotional, men are more logical. Do you think, um, interesting question, you might not like it, but I'm gonna ask it anyways. Do you think it is easier for men to succeed in business because they're less emotional and they're more logical and more into problem solving?
Um, Generalizations are tough, right?
Right. I'm thinking
And
more about the emotional and the logical.
right. And I also think, going back to people do what they know and the role models that they've had. And when you're living in a patriarchal society where the men are heralded for success and the women, in most cases, have been sidelined to a great degree, and not so much anymore. But when you think about, okay, the woman's place is in the home, and the man is the breadwinner. And so many people have grown up with this mentality, even though the woman is the CEO, she's still in the minority, right? Because of the role models that everybody's having. And so is it easier? It also depends on what your level of determination and your imagination is, because if you can imagine it, it's already done. Because everything's created twice. And so that's why it's so important to surround yourself with people that support you, places that you can learn, people you can learn from. It's like you're studying the people that you're studying. And so, up until this point, has it been easier? I guess I would have to say yes, probably it has been. It
Right.
doesn't have to continue to be that way.
I know, we gotta change that, you know?
Well, I think everybody is moving minds with insights and with the ability to communicate in real time with real people,
Yeah.
with real identification to each other. Yashif says A lack of okay is usually a fail. And Natalie comes back with a very meaty comment. Great points and insights. Be vulnerable and share your own experience with emotions and how creativity has been instrumental in navigating them. People relate to real stories. You know, there's something to that. They say facts tell, stories sell. Nobody wants to know your information. They want to know how you became who you are or why you're doing what you're doing. Context is so important in this fast world. Everybody's got seconds. They don't have time for sentences or for really thinking. They're on this fast, treadmill that they love the excitement, but they can't deal with it as humans because they're too attached to technology, I think. And that's the real challenge, not the conflict between us and us. How do you integrate all these influences that took you away? It's kind of funny. Last night, me and Ann were just sitting around the living room and with no TV on, nothing. And we're just sitting there. And I said, this reminds me when I was growing up that people used to sit around the living room. There wasn't any TV going on or radio. People had some coffee, maybe some cake, and people would share their day, what's new, what's exciting, what's interesting, and you became part of someone else's life, which made your life less important, less 100%. And I believe when you're with people or things that are bigger than yourself, you lose yourself in them, and you don't have time to think, oh, I should make more money. I need this. It's always like, I need more, instead of why not be thankful and blessed for what you already have. I remember Agmandino, I went to his last speaking engagement, and he said, I guarantee you everybody's worth over $1 million here. And he said, how much would you give for your eyes? Would you give $1 million or your ears, or keep going? And he says, if that doesn't make you a believer, go to the newspaper and don't look at the front page because it'll scare you, right? Look at the obituaries and ask, who wouldn't trade places with me right now, right? And I think it's context, being thankful for what you have, knowing that just getting up every day is a blessing in itself. No one's guaranteed that. And what do you want to do with your next day? Natalie comes back with, I like to share art and post about creativity. The journey of understanding my emotions has always been a complex one. But over time, I've realized the therapeutic magic that lies in creativity. So that's why I love to promote it. Very, very strong, Natalie. You're just so right there. She says, go with your heart, however, take your mind along. Makes a lot of sense.
That's a good one.
For sure, within yourself, with others, community. That's why we've got people have assumed roles of quoters, poets, artists, coaches that come together to really build a soup that we couldn't have done with all of us sharing a little bit of the ingredients and doing it with kindness, thoughtful, love, generosity. I mean, why not really work those muscles, right? And you feel better, right? When all of a sudden you started out this way and someone brought you into a happy place with happy people, and it's possible, right? It's finding them, getting them together at the same time, and engineering a safe place. So, Catherine, this has been really exciting show so far.
Well, it is so fun, and it really is what a wonderful example that we are all connected. And what's fascinating is the energy is contagious, right? And so when somebody walks into the room and that saying, they light up the room, well, that's it, right? And so what's interesting is, what kind of role model do you want to be? I think is what comes to mind at this point, because we do have a choice. And to your point, Malia, it takes time, and it doesn't happen overnight, but it's a process. However, if you give yourself the time to evaluate of what you want and really be decisive and intentional, then the rate at which you become brighter, bigger, all of those things is so much faster.
So true.
Yes,
Catherine,
I also,
just real quick, why don't you share your latest initiatives. You're going back to school for 2.5 years.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Well, I'm delighted because, yeah, it's so fun, right? Because I'm studying all the time. And I am delighted because I use a lot of Dr. Joe Dispenza's research and Dr. Bruce Lipton's research and others as well in the work that I do, because I think that there is an art and a science to living. And it's difficult to argue with the science, right? And so, and so I think it's super important.
Another engagement besides that you were mentioning, I think.
Oh, create your ultimate mind diet. Right. Yeah. I'm doing an experiment, right? 6 months. And so the second session of the 6 months is coming up on the 19th, I believe it is. It's the third Tuesday of each month. And we meet at noon. I've set it up as a meeting. I wasn't successful in doing that in the first one. My technology was a little off, but yeah. And so my presentation this time is about mindfulness practices, raising your level of awareness, and a little bit about your nervous system and how you can actually, engage your nervous system and work with it if you understand a little bit more about it rather than having it work against you. And the more mindful that you can become, the more in tune with your nervous system you actually become, right? And so my presentation is, 10 to 15 minutes, and I encourage people to bring questions. There are always things to talk about. Much like we're just talking here, it doesn't even have to be related to the actual presentation. If it is, that's great, but it doesn't have to be. I think it's important that people talk about these things.
Well, you're a great example. And I think that's what we all have the ability. And I think the answer going forward is peer-to-peer support, working with the people people you care about, and the people you can relate to, as opposed to waiting for institutional or government service. It's not going to happen, but we can make it happen one person at a time, with one person at a time, changing minds, rippling all of this wonderful insight and knowledge, because people, I believe, really want to do better. They just don't know how to. If you said, do these 5 things and you'll get what you want, believe me, people either do it or figure out how to do it or find someone to help them do it. And I think those are the 3 ways you always have, no matter what you do. How much can you do on your own? How much do you need help from outside? And asking for help is a gift to the person who will provide it, because some people get more gratification out of supporting people. Some people are in a position where something that's so important to you is so trivial to them, and it's so easy for them to do, but they don't know where to do it, and they don't know who deserves it. So I think if someone comes with an attitude of gratitude, a sense of respect and honesty, someone will look at it and say, yes, we can do something, because everybody wants to see themselves expand through others when possible. And that's why, even if you didn't have a great day, if you help 2 other people have a great day, well, maybe that made it a better day than what you're used to, and then tomorrow's another day. Malia, this is getting pretty elevated, this conversation, huh?
Yeah, it's a great conversation. One thing that I want to add is that you could have an amazing, piece of information that you want to share. You could be doing great work. If you are in the wrong community, or if you surround yourself with the wrong people, they are not going to appreciate you. It's as if you take a plant that needs to be like a cactus. You try to grow it in the wintertime or near tons of water, it's going to die. It has to be in the desert. It has to be near heat. The same exact thing with anything that you're trying to do in life. Put yourself with the people that appreciate you, because that's really where you're going to grow and really make a change. There are billions of people in this world. You do not have to have everybody like you. You have to have the few people that appreciate you, that you can make a difference in their life. And it's a huge piece of knowledge that I got. And I was like, okay, I'm going to internalize this. And it's really helped me. Another thing that I want to add is, when you are in your business, remember that there is a ladder that you have to climb. And for me, I always heard this term when I was starting LinkedIn. I never understood, when am I going to know that I'm climbing the ladder? You will know. I'll tell you, I don't come from anybody who has ever been in business in my family, besides for way back when. but like grandparents and great grandparents. But the people that I know, people were doctors and lawyers and teachers, but no business people. So I really had to teach it to myself. And what I learned when I took the step up the ladder was somebody called me and she was a younger girl and she's like, Malia, I want you to teach me what you know. She's like, I'm so inspired from you. I want to learn. And I was like, whoa, I just took a step up the ladder. And if you make small, consistent steps, just like Donald did here with the show, like that is where you're going to see like a lot of like ripple effects, and you're going to see the effects of what you're doing. Like Donald started and he just posted every single day, day after day, day after day, day after day. And look what you created just by doing something every day in a small amount, you know? It's almost like when it rains, let's say like a drip of water on the same spot of the rock. If you just like put tons of water, nothing's happening if you just pour tons on. But if you leave it for days and days and days, that little drop of water is going to make a hole in the rock if it consistently drops in the same spot. So to you, whatever you're doing, I wish everybody in the comments, everybody here, so much success. Just continue small, consistent steps every single day. Just try a little bit, even 15 minutes a day. Try to do something that's going to better yourself, because in a year from now and 6 months from now, you're going to really see the change.
So true. I think that is one of the most valuable insights shared today.
Thank you.
Is little things done right compound. And too many people are used to instant cereal, right? They're just add water and boom, you've got what you want. And, you know, I think people forget about the learning side of it, not just the achieving side of it. So when you get there, where are you going next?
Right.
And, you know, I learned there are no outcomes. Everything's a continuum.
Right.
Everything carries forward from wherever you are. So if you say, I just won, I finalized it, well, where are you a minute from now? What's your intent? What's your purpose? What's your goal? And, you know, my feeling is everything that's wonderful and beautiful in life deserves the time to be savored, right? If you find yourself in a moment of bliss, why would you sacrifice that to get somewhere faster? Right? A lot of times your body and your mind tells you where you need to be and how comfortable it could be. And you can stretch it, but you also dilute it. You know, it's like adding two drinks together, you ruin both of them.
Right.
You know?
Another thing just to like point out is remember that this was a very valuable thing I learned was remember you are exactly where you're meant to be. So when I was starting in this entrepreneurial space a few years ago, that drop stuff is deep. Thank you. Oh, thank you, Ashif. When like I started my business, like I wanted to be there already, be there and be there and be there. And I'm like, Malia, you didn't do enough. You should have started at 16. You shouldn't have started at 21. Like I always was just like, how am I going to ever make it? Because I didn't start at 15, 16 years old. I started at 21 years old. So I was always just like, oh my gosh, trying to be in the future. And I realized like these past few months, like I internalized that you are exactly where you're meant to be. Yes, have that goal in the future, but be present and understand. It takes internalizing. It's not just words I'm speaking. I internalize this by reading books and really understanding this. Is like you are where you're meant to be. And I know that we discussed the different directions in the beginning of this interview. And that's how I was as a child. Like if one of my like parents was going, let's say, to play baseball with one of the kids, and then there was a different option to go shopping. I remember I went shopping, and then I felt bad the whole time I didn't go to baseball. And like, this is how my childhood was. Like, people went there, some people went there, and like I always felt like, oh, I wanted to go here, but I should have gone there. Like, now that you understand you're exactly where you're meant to be, you don't have that conflict constantly coming back into your life. You know where you're meant to be. You're here. And you're able to be more present. And one other thing that I want to share is I help my clients a lot. I tell them that the most important thing is for you to be genuine. Like people want to buy from someone that they trust. Being genuine is so important. And they're like, what do you mean I can't be genuine with my audience on LinkedIn or in a podcast setting? And I pull that out of them and it works so much better. I've seen the clients that do commercially based posts versus the personal business posts. And the personal touch within the business post flows so much more. So go out there, be genuine, keep being consistent, and understanding that you're in the right place, and just keep moving forward.
Yeah, I think before we turn over to Catherine, I think what you say is so true. And the other aspect is everything in life so far has gotten you where you are today.
Yeah.
Right. So if you say, I wish that awful thing never happened to me, well, that got you to where you are today, molded you, taught you, the saying, there is no failure, only feedback, and fail forward. And, you're the person who decides to put the labels on yourself. You're the person that makes the
Yeah.
judgment, creates the sentencing. And when do you ever give yourself some clemency? When do you ever forgive yourself and say you're free of that? And I think Amalia's point, which is important, maybe it is the gaps that you don't have or didn't have that didn't complete things and carried them forward as incomplete. And now you pick up something from Catherine or a sheaf and you say, hey, that squares the debt. I'm free of it, and I think freedom is where you want to be, where you're free to think, free to do, free to be happy. What is stopping me? Why do I get so close and then something sabotages me? Right. And that me is you. I mean, the game is between you and yourself all the time. I used to say, I wake up feeling like $1 million today. Tomorrow, I can't get out of bed.
Yeah.
How did the world change so fast on me? And it wasn't that. But anyways, let's go to Natalie. Why is boredom at the center of the emotional scale? Good point. Ashif says, the love is always where you left it. Return to innocence. Also says, your vibe attracts your tribe. So
Yes.
true. Here we go with, okay, I think we covered that. And then Ashif says, living in the power of now. So true.
Yeah.
Catherine, how can you make this any better?
Well, it's just, what we're all saying is the only thing that we ever have is the present moment. And so worrying about the past and, worrying about the future and all of this, I mean, it's great absolutely, it's important to have a vision, but also be present in the moment because that's all we have. And when you think about it, there's nothing going on that's untoward in this present moment, right? And so, and use that as a strength and really realize that. What I wanted to expand on too, Malia, is your point about going up the ladder. You only need to be one rung higher than someone else to be able to show them, to be able to help them, right? You don't have to be necessarily at the top. And I love your water dripping example. I tell people the water is not waiting for that rock to get out of the way. Right?
That's true.
And so many folks, they're blaming, well, he said I can't do this, or she said I can't do this, or that's impossible, or, they didn't do what they were supposed to do. And so, wow, okay. When you take a look at all of those excuses that people make, that's not helpful.
There's a lot of excuses, but I do think that the excuses come from an emotional state. Like I know for myself, like I had a very, very big challenges like 6 months ago. I made an event. Every person that could scam me and screw me over messed me over. Like everybody that could do it. And I was young and people thought they could take advantage, So I learned a lot, and it's still like I still feel the pain inside. Like I still am traumatized from that experience. It taught me a lot, but I was stopped for like a few months. I couldn't move on. It was because I was stuck emotionally in that place. It was very, very, very emotional. Try to do something good in the world and people just, stab you. So I do feel that it does these things, the emotional part of you do have to deal with that. I'm saying there has to be that space it's not only necessarily the energy that comes into the world, but you do have to heal from these things. You can't just like the next day get up, What do you think?
Well, I think, the key is not how many times you fall down, but how fast you do get up. And I think because of what you mentioned, being young, as these become more prevalent over time, because usually it is a matter of betrayal, typically, that people can't resolve themselves to. They told me this, but they knew better and they were doing this. And how did I not see it?
Right.
how did I allow this to happen? And that's taken too much ownership of too many people. Some people spend their whole life trying to trick people and they're good at it. And some people are too trusting of too many people and they're bad at it.
Right.
So there's a balance between measured trust. I used to have so many people promise the world to me when I was in business. This is going to sell like crazy. This is going to knock it out of the park. And I said, I have no idea about this or what you're talking about. But if you're so sure, you guarantee it.
Right.
You give me return privileges, pay full freight back. You put the stuff up, you take the stuff down. Now I'm willing to give it a try, and you have nothing to lose because it's a sure thing, right?
Right.
And I think that's the thing is people move on emotion, especially in business. They're at their heightened level of excitement and belief, and they can't wait to get going until they get going, and then they find out. So, there's a saying, measure twice and cut once. Trust but confirm. And I think the key is you should not change as a person because of somebody either way.
Oh, very true. There's a clip that I'm going to send both of you, and then maybe you could share it with your audience. It's an amazing clip that I listened to many times already, and it talks about this type of point. So I'll send it to you. Can I ask a request from Catherine if you can do maybe some breath work now with the audience?
I will for the next minute. How's that?
Okay, great. I think everybody would love that.
Yeah, how fun is this, right?
So fun.
So before we actually do the breath, the mechanics of it are incorporating visualization. Because as you know, everything is created twice, right? And so the age-old concept of visualizing, breathing in the light, and you're just filling up on the inside. Every little crease and crevice of you is filling up with this beautiful healing light. And it's in through the nose. And there's no count to it, but it's a deep breath, a slow, deep breath, enough to where you feel you've gotten to the end. You don't need to hold it, but you're visualizing breathing in the light. Your heart's actually getting bigger and you're glowing from the inside out. And you can actually imagine that you're feeling the warmth of the sunlight on your skin. And when you exhale, it's out through the mouth as if you're gently blowing out a candle flame, because what that does is it slows the exhale down a little bit. So we're going to do 2 breaths, and then I'm going to hop off because I have a meeting at noon. And so it's how fun is this?
You made it fun, Catherine.
Well, you can close your eyes or leave them open. It's totally up to you. So we'll do 2 breaths. And don't forget to visualize. And you can actually visualize that your vagus nerve is glowing too.
An added benefit.
Wonderful to be here with both of you and with all of you folks in the audience. Thank you, Don. Thank you, Maya. Have a beautiful rest of your day.
You too. Thank you so much. Your face is glowing, Catherine.
Yeah, I always think of Catherine effervescent. So carry that forward. Hopefully it helps you with the best day ever.
Well, thank you. I'm going to keep spreading the sunshine. How's that?
Oh my gosh.
Can't wait to see you again, Catherine.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Well, we come up at the top of the hour. The hour moves so quickly when you've got a tailwind like this audience, and everybody is so nice, so honest. And, it takes givers to create opportunities like this. People who genuinely find that to be one of the best parts of their day is sharing insights, knowledge, mindset opportunities for improvement. And I guess the takeaway is there's so many things we don't know yet. So many people we haven't met like Catherine yet that gives hope and optimism to that whole aspect of you're the 5 people you spend the most time with, right? So who are you spending the most time with? Where are they going? Is that where you want to go? And the other thought is never try to be the smartest person in the room.
Yes.
You know, always try to find people who you can learn from, learn with, and understand at a happiness level, everybody's equal. You know, it doesn't matter who you are, what you do, you know, and I would rather be a humble, modest person who is tremendously joyful and happy and grateful than somebody who has like everything you ever wanted and is just can't get it together, right? There's a price for success. So you got to be careful what you pay for the success you have. And at the end of the day, when I used to tell everybody who used to come work for me, it's not how much you make, it's who you become, right? And that's what will make the difference going forward. Money will come, money will go. It's the friends, it's the support group, knowing you don't have to have it all if you've got people who want you to do good and help you be there. So with that, final thoughts, Malia, on the show before we close it up?
This has been very nice. I mean, the breath work was amazing. I was able to feel like the sun literally coming into my body, pushing out anything that's dark and not sun. Like, you know, just it was very nice. She's so sweet. She has so much knowledge to give. And I'm so happy that I was able to be part of this and have you all as the audience. If anybody wants to ask me any further questions, you could DM me. And please connect. If we're second connections or third, please make sure to go connect with me on LinkedIn and let me know that you were here at the show so that I know that you listened, so that we could connect afterwards. But this has just been so nice. It's so nice to just meet new people, and it's so nice to be in this environment.
Well, thank you, Malia. And if you like, feel free to share the links in the comments so everybody has access to them. And look forward to having you back and talking again. I want to thank everybody. Let me just finish with my last comments. Ashif says, for a beautiful hour, sharing is caring, healing, understanding when done mindfully with a purpose so right. Natalie, thank you to everyone. This was amazing. Ashif put in the hashtag for Sunshine Quotient for Catherine. Petra's here, who has a wonderful foundation, Ashley's Angels. God's blessing. Thank you. And also, this show is great, and so are you, Petra. So with that said, come back in 23 hours if you can. Tomorrow, we're going to have Kelly and Beverly. On Friday, Dr. Marilyn Scott, Dr. Joanne will be here. Then Leslie on Saturday, Sarah from Spain, who's just wonderful, been here 8 months, is here. And then Gretchen's on Monday. So we're caught up with that. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day and promote yourself in the best ways possible. Take care.
Yes.